What's up, guys? Mason the Brock Henderson here, and this is Bull Season 4, Episode 19, The Sovereigns. So ultimately, I liked how this ended. I liked the whole message of essentially appealing to the judge's sense of duty and showing him essentially something he did in the past is not so different from what Judge Dugan did in this case. And I like that message. I think it's perfectly fine. However, it does make two things for me make a little less sense. First of all, the girl that she let go, I forget her name now, that, in my opinion, did not end the way it should have. I wanted to see her getting her comeuppance for essentially perjuring herself. Because, that's ridiculous. She essentially, this judge gave her the chance to get herself ready, and what does she do? She tries to run away, and then she blames the judge for telling her to do that. I want to see her get her comeuppance. I felt bad for her at first, the beginning of the episode, because she was given such a raw deal by the prosecutor who didn't do her job correctly. But then she goes and she makes herself seem like a terrible person by not only not listening to what the judge was trying to tell her, the benefit of the doubt the judge was giving her, but then also turning on the judge and lying about what happened on the stand. That deserves some comeuppance. I want to see, whether, I don't know if there's recordings in there, I don't know what, but I want to see her get her comeuppance somehow, but we never see her again after that. Also, the agent that comes up there and essentially says, oh yeah, we were eating together, I was trying to sign her, she was totally into it. Okay. Was this a bad thing for the judge? Because I took it as, okay, he literally just said she would look better. She would be more sellable. Or sellable? Is that the right term? I don't know what the right term is. But essentially, if he gets her to lose the trial, that makes her more profitable for him. So why wouldn't he lie about what was being said and what was being done? And yet, after that testimony, 2 days later, she's found guilty. So was that considered a bad thing, what he said? Because I heard it and I'm thinking, oh, okay, well, there you go. Like, they're trying to sully her good name by saying, oh, she's talking to this agent. She says she wants, protect the sanctity of the courtroom. That's who she is. And yet she's about to go on a show and just sell herself away. What a terrible person. That's what they're trying to show, but then he literally turns it around after Benny cross-examines him, and he says, well, yeah, if she loses, then obviously, this is what she wants. This is what she wants. It sounds like, honestly, like one of those stalker guys, like going back to one of the previous episodes this season. It sounds like that guy who's just like, you want this. You want this. I know you want this. Don't try to pretend like you don't. That's pretty much what he said on the stand, and then goes on to say that, yeah, if she loses, that would be great for me, which means he would be willing to lie and make her look bad just to get what he wants. And somehow the jury found her guilty after that? Like, that was, oh, you know what? I agree with him. She's a terrible person. That's not what he said. He literally said that he wants her to lose. And that she was playing hard to get. Essentially saying that she kept turning him down. But in his mind, he's like, well, but she went to 2 lunches with me. You don't have a second lunch if you don't really want it. What? That's your excuse? So, yeah, I don't know. Those 2 scenes for me really brought this episode down. And, again, the end sort of saved it because I appreciated what they did with the judge. But that doesn't take away from my problems I was having previously. And honestly, probably the biggest problems that I've had this season, because so far it's been pretty solid. Not to say that I've not had any issues, but these 2 stood out to me as, you've given me this woman who now I absolutely despise. I want to see her arrested. I want to see her taken down because of what she did. Already what she did was terrible. The assisting with the suicide. Already that's bad. And she thought she was going to get away with it, and then she wasn't because she was lied to. So already she deserves to go to prison. And then she gets up and she betrays the judge. I'm like, I want to see her taken down. We don't get to see that. Well, that's disappointing for me. Because now I just have to assume that she's just being taken to prison for what she did before and not for perjury as well. And not see her essentially, I don't know, somebody laugh in her face because what she tried to do to the judge was despicable and it didn't work. And then, again, for the agent, how was that a bad testimony for the team? Because that's what I have to assume. Because Bull says, please tell me they're not buying it. They're not listening to his cynicism or something along those lines. And then Marissa repeats what he says. So I guess she was lying about it, because they've done that before this season. It was like, please tell me this is what's going on. Okay, this is what's going on. Are you telling the truth? No, I'm not. You just told me to say that. I don't know if that's what Marissa was doing, but I still didn't see his words as a bad thing for the team. I didn't see it as a bad thing for the judge. And yet, the very next scene, oh, she's guilty. How did you come up with that ruling? How on earth was that your takeaway? So, yeah, I'm a little frustrated with those scenes. I don't really get what the thinking was there. Maybe I missed something. Maybe I misunderstood what was being said by the guy. But my takeaway was I don't trust a word out of his mouth, even though he's claiming that the judge wanted to get into the TV business and wanted to do all this. I don't trust anything he says because clearly that would be good for him to lie. And yet, it seems like everybody just bought everything he said. Just like, oh yeah, no. I trust him. I trust that he's gonna get something good out of this. I trust everything he says. First time I've gotten a little frustrated with this show this season, so I guess the penultimate episode being the first time that happens is good. But yeah, that's about all I have for this episode, so on to the finale for the season. I'll see you there. And now episode 20, Wrecked. So this one was a pretty solid one. Granted, I do think this one, kind of similar to some of the later episodes, I felt like it was a little straightforward. Honestly, I think a lot of the best scenes came down to the moments with Taylor and seeing just how hard she was willing to fight to make sure it wasn't about the money. As much as the money would help Henry get through all of his stuff, that wasn't the point. She wanted this girl to have to see the consequences for her actions, which makes sense because, yeah, there are a lot of people, especially rich people most of the time, that do get away with a lot of the stuff they do because they have the money to make it go away. So I really appreciated, that was kind of the whole point of the trial. And honestly, I don't even think she was looking to win. I think she just wanted to make the trial the point of it. And I think she even said that near the beginning. She's like, I want that girl to have to sit in there and see what she did. So, yeah, overall, I thought it was a very solid episode, especially for Taylor, because she's still kind of the new person to the team, so... still learning a little bit about her and just getting to know her as a character as well. I think this was a good episode for that sense. Oh my goodness. I always forget, I can't drink a lot of soda during, right before a review, because it's never a good combination. But yeah, I mean, as far as a season finale goes, I think this is probably one of the better ways to end it, to have a more personal case for one of our team members. Granted, we also had the one halfway through the season with Marissa's friend, so there are occasionally some personal cases sprinkled throughout, but this one especially seemed the most difficult because it involved a diplomat. Honestly, I kind of wondered if they were going to be trying to find a loophole to take the diplomat to court, or the diplomat's kid to court. So honestly, the more difficult part about this case that they had to take on was just proving that it wasn't the diplomat's daughter that drove, but the friend that doesn't have any immunity. So in that sense, it was sort of just down to we're looking for anything to use, we're looking for any sort of proof that she might have done it outside of what Taylor is saying. And in that sense, it was pretty simplistic in the end, to just essentially go talk to one of the house workers, and just they get up and they're just like, yeah, car came over, it was a Lamborghini, that girl got out of the driver's seat, and that was basically it. So maybe a little simplistic, maybe a little too easy to wrap it up, but at the same time, still pretty effective episode. And again, I do think that comes down to the character writing in this one and those moments where Taylor really got to shine, being there for her friend's kid, being there just essentially to help him sort of navigate this really difficult time. So yeah, I enjoyed it. Not my favorite episode of the season, but a good one to end it on. And that's it for this season. So thoughts on the season as a whole. Obviously, I praised this show a lot throughout this season, and yeah, it's probably my favorite season. Obviously, I don't remember a whole lot about seasons 1 through 3, but this one really sticks out to me as there weren't really any episodes aside from the last one that I talked about, and just those few scenes that really kind of put me off a little bit as far as they didn't make a whole lot of sense to me, the viewer. But outside of that one episode, all the episodes were at least good. You know, some were better than good, some were pretty great, some were fantastic. But everything else was just, it was at least solid, and there's not a lot of shows that I can say that about. You know, most shows, they'll have their episodes where they get really frustrating or do something really stupid or have an episode that's just boring. I didn't really feel that this season. Again, aside from the aggravation from the last episode, which was still, I thought, made up for by how it ended and making that whole meaningful speech to the judge, there just wasn't a whole lot to complain about this season. And honestly, I do think that's a good step in the right direction, because most shows don't know how to do that. Most shows, it feels like they're sort of filling up the space and they're trying to bide their time until the next episode, so they're just going to put in something without thinking too hard about it. And then I put some thought process into it and go, wait a minute, that doesn't make any sense. So I'm glad that it really does feel like the show this season. Now granted, does it all make sense as far as trial law is concerned? That's not something I can answer for, because I'm not a lawyer. I don't have any knowledge on trial law. But still, it was just a very fun and enjoyable season. And I feel like, especially after how frustrating NCIS got over the 2 seasons I just watched, this was a good one for me to go, a CBS show that still knows how to at least write. And it has made me a little bit more hopeful for next season, even though there's going to be a lot of masks, there's going to be a lot of talk about pandemic, isolation, quarantine, all this stuff. That part of it is going to get frustrating because, again, it's not something I really want to see. It's not something I want to remember because I feel like 2020 was so stupid. But this season gave me hope that, at the very least, the writing for next season is going to be enjoyable enough where I can look past my personal frustrations with what's going to be happening. I will say, couple things just pop into my mind. It does sort of feel like there were some stories that maybe we're still not done with, and we didn't really reference. You know, because I was talking earlier in the season about how we were having the whole thing with Marissa and her husband possibly getting a divorce over the whole, he was lied to, basically, about the whole egg and sperm situation. You know, there was that story that sort of didn't have much of an ending. Like, at some point they're talking about splitting up, and that was basically all we know. Chunk and his daughter, I thought, was a really well written story, but it kind of ended on a note of, well, he's going to be there for her, he still disagrees with her, but we don't know what's happening there. You know, did she decide to go through with it? Did she decide not to go through with it? Don't know. We didn't talk about it again. So that there are a couple of stories that I do wonder if we're going to hear about again next season, or if it's just sort of, we're done with that for now. I don't know. That just sort of popped into my mind. I'm like, wait a minute, we never heard about what happened with those stories. So I do wonder about that. But seeing Bull get to be a father was also a good running story for this season, and probably something we'll have to talk about a bit next season. But all in all, very good season 4, and half looking forward to season 5 now. That's honestly pretty impressive considering how I was feeling about it when I started season 4. So, but anyways, that's it for me. So let me know what you guys think down in the comment section below. What were your thoughts on this season and these last 2 episodes? Let me know. We could talk about and discuss all that good stuff. Leave a like and subscribe for future Bull reviews, and I'll see you guys at the next season. Peace out.